Good evening, everyone. We'll wait just a few moments before we have a formal greeting. Okay, we're at that point where we can say hello. As many as are willing to have your camera on, that would be great so that we can see each other's faces and have at least the feeling of being together, alive. You might even want to peruse everyone else's screen or everyone else's little box, a little blessing to each person. This is the transmission from the great meditation master Deepama. Just bless everyone all day long, all the time. Anyway, invite you to say hello, unmute, say hello, say where you're calling in from, and hear each other's voices.
I'm Kathy from San Francisco.
Hi, Kathy, welcome.
Thank you.
Linda from San Francisco.
Hey, Linda, really happy you're with us.
Katie from San Francisco.
Hey, Katie, happy to see you.
Hi from Maryland.
Hi, Laura, welcome.
Linda from Eugene.
Hello, Linda. Glad you're with us tonight.
Thank you.
Nancy from Petaluma.
Is that Nancy from Petaluma? Hey, Nancy, glad you're here.
Thanks, Howie.
I'm Agnes from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Hi, Agnes. Warm welcome.
Thank you.
Jamie from Los Angeles.
Hey, Jamie. Good to have you with us.
Noemi from San Francisco.
Hello, Noemi. Good to see your face.
Jeff from San Francisco.
Hey, Jeff. Great to have you.
Angela, San Francisco.
Hey, Angela.
Jacqueline from New York.
Hi, Jacqueline. Glad you made it so soon.
Oh, good to see you.
Same to you.
Sabina in San Francisco.
Hey, Sabina.
Hi.
Always a pleasure. And thanks, Keith, for co-hosting tonight. Much appreciation.
Keith from Berkeley.
Allie from San Francisco, The Mission.
Hi, Allie. Glad you're with us. I see Mary from Austin's there, but don't see her face, but I'm happy she's there. Okay. We're small but mighty so far. We'll see if others drift in. But whoever does not come at this point misses, to me, the sweet spot of the night where we settle into our practice of letting go, a practice of resting in a state of being lucidly aware. I see Maureen closing her eyes very softly and willingly, and we bring together the two wonderful elements of being secluded and alone, but together, just drawing on the lifting support of being with each other. And supporting each other to be willing to stop, to keep quiet, and then to rediscover the natural great peace and ease that is the natural peace and ease of our mind. We just have to stay here long enough to experience the fragrance of peace that is our natural state. And once our eyes are closed and we're feeling a little bit more secluded, the way that we clear the dust of memory and drama, not really clear it, we just notice the dust, we notice the residue of our internal life. We direct our attention very gently to the experience of our body sitting, moving quickly from the idea of our body to the felt sense of contact, sensation, touching, touch of the rear, touch of the hands, the lips, the eyelids. Just the touch sensations all over this body that give the sense of a body, give the sense of shape or form. And we simply feel the body's aliveness that we experience as vibration, pulsing, and that we experience as the effect of breathing on our body, how it expands and contracts. And we feel the touch of the breath wherever it's most obvious. Could be that sense of the whole body expanding, contracting. Could be simply our chest or belly rising and falling. Could be our nostrils flaring, or the coolness as air passes our upper lip. Finding where we feel the touch of the breath and sustaining our connection as long as it lasts. Through the duration of the in-breath, we know that we're breathing in. The out-breath, we know that we're breathing out by the touch. And because we're not in any way trying to direct or control the breath, we can also feel that touch in the way that we notice whether it's a short breath or a long breath, or a deep breath or a shallow breath, a rough breath or a smooth breath. You just feel that touch sensation, breath by breath. And this connecting with the breath serves two functions. It allows attention to come together with the physical experience, the harmonizing of mind and body. And also, just directing attention to the breath and body empties our mind of its usual preoccupation and fills it with a sense of immediacy, the life of the present. When we are present, we find that life is quite simple. Just sense experience. This touching, hearing the different sounds, sound of silence, sound of my voice, sounds in whatever your space is, the the distant sounds. We feel things through the body. And we may also notice different thoughts and images floating through our mind, like clouds. But this simple sense experience, less involved in the content of our thoughts, more just the thinking mind thinking, the seeing mind seeing, hearing mind hearing, the sensing mind sensing. Just this moment, just this breath, just this body, just this sensory experience, just being aware. Supported by the anchor of body and breath, which are always here. Just this moment. When you realize that you've been in a thought bubble, living in virtual reality, that's a sign of mindfulness re-arising, coming back online. So appreciate that moment of awakening to the fact that there was thinking. No big deal. You're now aware and in support of remaining anchored to this living present, we once again find our body and breath. Find that sense of ever present, ever available wakefulness and clarity. That ultimate fact that you are aware. Be aware, supported by the body. Bringing a relaxed determination to be as continuous as possible in our attention to the body, breath, or whatever it is that becomes predominant, sounds, other sensations, moods, thoughts, images, each presently arising experience being known in awareness, staying with it. The unfolding of practice supported by keeping the attention in the same place as our body. Remaining continuously aware as long as it lasts. Just this moment. Remember, mindfulness has no interest in making anything happen. It just wants to notice. So if you notice that you're trying to make something happen, this is greed in the mind, grasping, and will create tension. If you're trying to resist something, this is aversion in the mind, and that will also create tension. Just be mindful. It's a state of being aware, with no agenda other than to know the presently arising experience, body and mind. Mindfulness is quiet and non-contentious, welcoming, impartial. Rest in this state of being lucidly aware, supported by the body and breath. Thanks so much for your practice. Couldn't have done it without you, or at least couldn't have had quite that experience of feeling supported and sustained by our presence together. As always, I'm kind of curious what happened for you. I'd love to hear what you noticed in your practice, any questions that may have come up, any topics that emerged, descriptions. And if you do have a question, it's likely will be of some use to someone else, so don't be bashful. And you can either raise your hand or use the raised hand function on the Zoom if you know how to use that. And we'll just check in a little bit. Please, Jeffrey.
Hi, Howie. I did way better this time with the technique, thinking, saying to myself, thinking with those bubbles and getting unstuck from them.
Uh-huh.
That works. That works awfully well. Yeah. Yeah.
So just by acknowledging the thoughts as thoughts and not getting involved in the content.
Yeah, and using that key word thinking, and a couple of those thinkings in it would get unstuck and off it would go. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that.
So that's all good as long as you're not using it to get rid of the thoughts, because we're never trying to get rid of anything. We're just trying to notice them. But it sounds great though. If you had a kind of insight in that the thoughts just disappear when they're just acknowledged for what they are.
Yeah.
So,
But thanks for that. No, watch that motivation to push the thoughts away. Right.
there you go. Great.
Got it. Yeah.
So in the course of noticing, just thinking, from time to time, you may start to, as you go along, you'll start perhaps noticing what the common thoughts are that seem to rise, like planning or remembering, replaying, rehearsing, comparing, judging. And sometimes we can, instead of, if it's very obvious to you, can use just the note thinking or judging or comparing. If you have to think about what kind of thought it was, don't bother. But if it becomes really obvious, then feel free to use that little mental note of whatever the kind of thought it is.
Thank you. Thanks.
Pleasure. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Linda, Unmute, please. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, so glad you're with us tonight.
Nice to be with you.
Yeah, I can't hear you so well, but
Oh, here, let me
turn up your volume.
go like this. How's that?
Much better.
So I had an interesting experience. Probably I would call it doubt. Um, I was working with just mindfulness of the body, and I noticed that when I'm very aware of the body, there's so many sensations that just change constantly, rapidly. You know, there's the pain here, there's the tightness, there's the softness, there's whatever. Everything keeps going. And then there was this moment of, so why am I doing this? What is this good for? I mean, it was really like after all these years of sitting, just going, so why am I doing this? I think that underneath that was, it wasn't as exciting as the mind. I think that's probably
So there
what
may have been a
was,
little boredom.
yeah, probably boredom. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, some kind of underlying mind state, possibly.
right. Just
Uh,
that,
but I think
that
it's marvelous that you notice a why question. That the tendency would be to follow it and then start contemplating it. But from within this particular meditative practice, it's just noticing, oh, there's a thought of doubt, and just keep being available to the next thing.
right.
I did, though, as you spoke, though, I had the thought about what makes a difference between a Buddha and an ordinary person, and it's relevant to why am I doing this? What a Buddha knows is whatever arises changes and passes away. And it's that indelible imprint of change and impermanence that may not in that moment of doubt loosen the grip of grasping and identification, but that's why we do that. Why we pay attention over and over again, so we see for ourselves that nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine. Everything is changing. I mean, that's just the overarching teaching. But I think it was enough just to notice doubt or why am I doing this, or boredom, whatever it is that revealed itself in that moment.
Yeah. Now that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Noemi, please feel free.
Hello.
Hello.
I noticed it's raining here.
It's raining, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sitting right next to a window, and desire came up because it was raining really hard, and it sounded like hail. And I wanted so desperately, and so desire, to look out the window that it couldn't. And I noted, okay, I want to look out the window. And then now go back to the breath. And then it kept coming up. And it kept coming up. And I didn't fight it. But I noticed that desire. you know,
Yes.
healing.
Beautiful.
So I thought that was really interesting to bring that idea of desire.
Yes, and so and the obviously the image of the of seeing the rainfall is one thing, but what's the feeling of desire like? We
Right.
often
Exactly.
don't pay attention to what it's like when desire is in the mind. How does
Right.
it feel to sit there like and not and having this feeling of desire?
Yeah. So I would feel like it's kind of a anticipation, kind of excitement.
Yes.
So those are the feelings like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what's going on. And
Wonderful.
to really think, to really feel that. No, and then to really be conscious of the decision, conscious of the decision that I'm not gonna lift up my hand
That you're
and open the grape
aha.
out the window.
So the decision of renunciation, of not doing it.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. And then how did that feel?
felt okay. I mean,
It's so funny. Yeah, go ahead,
come
please.
back, it would come back,
Uh-huh.
and then it would come up and then go down, and come up and go down.
Good practice.
Yeah.
It
So
sounds
I
like
guess what you
sounds like a classic definition of dukkha.
oh,
A little stressful.
I
No?
did feel stress. I
Great.
did feel stress.
So you're pretty much enjoying being aware of that whole
Yeah,
process.
it was, and enjoying hearing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Pleasure of hearing. Yeah. Great. Great.
Thank you.
Keep up. Keep paying attention. Mary, last but not least. Jacqueline after Mary, but Mary, please first, and then Jacqueline.
Okay, hi, Howie.
Hi, Mary.
I hope I can put this into words, but I sometimes take this Zoom art class that's not about, I have a lot of training. It's not about like how, color or things like that, composition. It's more about finding your own personal voice, And that, in fact, sometimes the more education you've had, it becomes even harder to do.
Fair enough.
But in this class, this particular one, it's so interesting to me. He talks about you just have to be present in the moment. There's such an incredible synchronicity going on here in my life. And it's so true. It's like he has you doing like a 20-minute journal a day. So you don't have to think too much. So basically, it's getting out of your judgmental mind, of I want this, I don't want that, and just playing and experiencing and being in the moment. And then that's when you're really creative and you're willing to take risks and try different things. And if it doesn't work out, big deal.
Yes.
And, you're not thinking about the gallery like this or whatever.
Great example.
It is. I just couldn't believe it. It was so clear. Like, gee, I've been working on this in two different ways my whole life through meditation and art. And then today I saw something on, I think it was on Facebook, and it was a teacher who had a pile, it was little kids, like kindergarten, I'd say, a pile of papers, a stack, and each one of them had two black dots on it. And all these children of the class went by and each one took a paper. And then the next scene is they each put their paper back. And each of them had done a drawing around these two dots, whether it was a face and they were all so unique and so original. And I thought, when you're a child, it comes very easily, and that's what you're kind of trying to get back to, you know. And
Yes.
it just, there was such a
Beautiful.
parallel.
Yes. And
Thank you.
it's so interesting that the class is titled Finding Your Own Voice, when in fact, when you enter into that stream of immediacy, there really is not a sense of a you who's doing it. There's just the creative process. And so in one hand, we call it finding our own voice, and on the other hand, it's entirely selfless.
Those were my words. It's actually called Creative Awakening. More apropos.
Sounds great. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jacqueline, please feel free.
So I had mentioned when I saw you last that I was sleeping almost entirely during my sits. And I recall why I had gone from the cushion to a chair. Because when I'm on the cushion, I have so much physical pain to the point where, yeah, it's like kind of causing almost like feelings of panic in my chest. Like it's really overwhelming. So in the sit we just did,
Yes.
I stood up. That didn't help. I sat back down. So I guess my question is like kind of where to put my focus. Like I tried doing more a neutral place, whether it be like hands, feet, that helped maybe for a second.
And when you say it helped, what do you mean by it helped? What did it help do?
Oh, it stopped the sensations.
So
Yeah.
so you know that if you try to stop the sensations, it means you're bothered by them. And as long as you're bothered by them, they will continue to torment you. So the key is to change you know this already, but the key is to change your relationship to these sensations. And so any kind of method that you use to stop it it may work for a moment, but it will actually create an equal and opposite reaction. And it'll, come back in a way stronger or more difficult to bear. So just redirecting the attention is just you want to really consider the intention behind redirecting attention is to reestablish a sense of a balanced awareness so that you can meet the pain in a less reactive way. And give yourself a little bit of a break in a way. And so everything that we do is really simply to adjust the quality of our attention so that we can meet the present experience without adding to it with our reactivity.
Yeah.
So that can include going to a neutral place. It can include bringing loving kindness, compassion to how hard it is to be with those sensations. Something that just softens the attitude.
Okay.
But the aim of stopping it or getting away from it, that will just backfire.
I intellectually know that, but when I'm in it, I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. And then like Linda, I think said, I was like, I could be watching TV right now. Like, why have I put myself, and I have those thoughts on retreat too. I'm like, I could be at the beach. This is hell. So you're saying like lead with intention, maybe some
Well,
loving kindness.
you also want to pay attention to how much you don't like it.
Okay, the aversion.
So you really pay attention to aversion.
Okay.
And just in order to do this, you kind of have to be interested in what your mind does. Sometimes we have more or less interest. But if it's all about feeling the pleasure of being at a beach, you should go to the beach. If it's about freedom, you got to stay with it.
Yeah.
So you have to everything hangs on the motivation.
Thankfully, I have a lot of motivation and faith in the practice, but it doesn't. It's still, the sensations are really, really
Yeah.
palpable, but I'll try. Yeah, I guess more curiosity. I think
Mm,
having gone from like cushion to being in a chair for the past 2 years and like zoning out and sleeping, I forgot just how painful it is. And so I'm like kind of
mm,
coming back to all of that.
mm. Well, you don't want to turn it into a torture test, you know that.
Yeah.
So just find your own rhythm of back and forth to the chair, not one or the other.
Okay.
Just, just find your way,
Thank you.
but with lots and lots of love.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Anyway, glad you're with us and glad to have you on retreat last week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for staying with the evening, everyone. A few people here who were just on retreat with me at Insight Meditation Society in Barre, Massachusetts, and it's a lovely week in New England, and winter wonderland, snow everywhere, and at the beginning incredibly cold, but then it warmed up a little bit, and it was quite lovely, and wonderful group of meditators. And in fact, tonight I was going to bring in a little bit of something that I mentioned on the retreat, and I didn't share this part, but the original thought that started this, my second talk of the retreat, which I didn't share this thought, was a common expression that I've heard in my life. I don't know if you've heard this a lot. An idle mind is the devil's playground. You've heard variations on that theme. And instead, I started with a comment that my grandmother made. My grandmother, whose name was Rose, she said, with a very thick, very thick Russian accent, Belarusian immigrant. She'd say with an accent, she says, you have to work. You stay home, you go nuts, you lose your marbles. Which is in a way the same thing. And there is something to be said for engaging, being engaged with your life in general and with your mind in particular. And in her case, as I shared on this retreat, in her case, and it was partly because she had been through a lot with poverty and the pogroms basically destroying her village, and the family having to travel from Russia in the diaspora of Jews coming to the US. She was really determined to make a life for herself and her family. She saw her mother slaving away, and it was it really made an imprint on her mind, and she became really determined, and she turned it into a kind of work mind, and she worked literally 7 days a week until just short of her 104th birthday. And so quite determined. And she couldn't relate at all to somebody living a kind of leisure life, the level of leisure that we have available to us. Many people have available to us now, even those who do work. People tend to organize their work around leisure instead of their leisure around work. But that was foreign to her. And it created such a force in her that she became this kind of embodiment of that work ethic, and she could, she had inexhaustible energy and had very many wholesome and beautiful qualities, but she was also tough to work with because she demanded that kind of continuity of effort in work. And the reason I talked about it is, in some ways, it's analogous to the encouragement that one can have if you hear it, or if you respond to this sort of thing, the encouragement to be equally as determined and continuous in the development of your mind in practice. Now, my mind, I didn't realize it until I started to think about this talk that I was offering, that my mind was more like my grandmother's, at least when I was younger, was more like my grandmother's than I thought it was. I used to think, oh my gosh, she's just so driven, and it's all about productivity, it's all about earning money, it's all about being successful. And my mind just did not incline in that way, but my mind, I had very similar things that I brought to Dharma practice. And I responded really well when one of my Burmese teachers said, practice without regard for body or life. And practice as though your hair is on fire. And I did that, and I sat with, as I've mentioned in the last month, I've been talking a lot about Dipama, the wonderful teacher, Bengali meditation, or actually maybe her family was from what's in present day Bangladesh, the Barua clan. But anyway, she had this very fierce determination that was geared toward awakening, because she had been through so much hell, so much loss, and so much poverty, and so much heartache, and so much illness, that she was completely determined to be awakened. And borrowing from these different elements of the teaching, that in a way, that's the way that I practiced. And you see throughout the teachings, when the Buddha talks about one, what do you call it? One wholesome or one something attachment, one healthy attachment. I forgot what the word is, but it says that your attachment should be to be aware of each presently arising experience. And he says, death may come. You never know when. So just embrace each presently arising experience. You could say just love each presently arising moment. It's the same thing in a way, but he's saying practice, practice, practice. And in our tradition, there's the work tradition that where it's all about productivity and those kinds of results. In our tradition, the practice is it's basically mind training. And you're training your attention moment to moment, wherever you are. And the beautiful thing about meditation is it's entirely portable. You're training your attention to stay with each presently arising experience. Walking when you're walking, eating when you're eating, turning door handles when you're turning door handles, being mindful of breathing when you're sitting, mindful of whatever is the presently arising experience. Thoughts, as Jeffrey was saying earlier, thinking, remembering, planning, or feeling sad, feeling anxious, but knowing each thing and calling together all those moments of knowing. It turns out that when you have a continuous flow of noticing, it produces a tremendous power of mind and a tremendous observing power. And that quality of bringing your attention to each presently arising experience, the gathering and sustaining of attention, brings with it all kinds of pleasure and balance and ease and one-pointedness. And the feeling, at least increasingly, that's why it's different than just going to work. You get to see very clearly what's happening. And it becomes, your present experience becomes compelling enough and interesting enough. This is why one may want to organize their lives around this kind of determination, it becomes the present time experience, as some of you described, becomes interesting enough, compelling enough, that your mind ceases to want to be somewhere else. You experience actually a cessation of the desire for anything other than what you're noticing. And as Noemi was saying, just noticing desire coming and going. Just noticing the impulse to reach for the shade and not acting on it. That life becomes, in a way, concentrated in real time. And one realizes that power of mind, that strength of mind, not only does it make the present more compelling and interesting, but it also puts you in touch with, puts me in touch with, hopefully it puts you in touch with what I often call is the quietness of being aware. You know, in the pursuit of success and the pursuit of the many things some things we have to do, and it's a wonderful way to spend a life. I'm a beneficiary of my grandmother creating a wonderful atmosphere for my family. But there's a tendency when one organizes oneself around reaching a goal or becoming someone or somehow getting to the end of the rainbow, there's a way that one associates arriving, getting there as the point where you'll be able to relax or rest, where you can say, I arrived. The meditation part is always arriving at the present moment. And so increasingly, the fragrance of being present is the fragrance of peace that one does not have to wait for, but is recognized eventually or more often as the peace that's always already there. And so people struggle with their thoughts, but when you see that silence, stillness is our natural state, then it's quite natural then to turn toward silence and stillness, as opposed to turning toward the thinking mind as a source of identity and well-being. Why not just choose what feels right? That's always already. I don't know, that I need to unpack that a little bit more in the way I describe it, but just hopefully you get the feeling of it. But all this is to say, and part of the motivation why I brought this element of what I shared a little bit more elaborately on the retreat, because I was pointing much more to after several days of practice, people are much more in touch with this ever-present wakefulness and clarity that is really is our natural state, and they're really starting to sense what it's like after, when the dust of memory settles a little bit. We can feel that a little bit together, sitting here now, just noticing after the last thoughts have ceased and before the next one comes, there's a kind of vivid clarity that's already here, that's pretty quiet. But why I mentioned it tonight is that we have we have, as part of our incarnation, part of our conditions, we have an amazing opportunity, if we're awake at all, to incline. I said earlier about the motivation to Jacqueline. What's the motivation? Is it to experience pleasure? Is it to be free? We have an opportunity to, with all the moments of our life, we have an opportunity to plant the seeds that bring well-being, that bring relief, both as we go and increasingly as we go along. In other words, we start right now, and we just keep growing in those same qualities, same wholesome qualities of being aware, non-contentious, non-grasping. As awareness is a moment free of grasping. It's free of aversion. It's free of misidentification. We're not lost in a story. We're here. So we have an opportunity to plant those seeds. And the recommendation I was talking about on the retreat that was passed on to me by one of my colleagues, and I know I've mentioned them on Tuesday night, but we have this opportunity to increase every day our what he called, this is Guy Armstrong, what he calls our NPMs, our noticings per minute. We want to, and we can notice that if you increase the noticing, if you increase the amount of mind moments that are where there's attention there, that attention, these disparate moments of attention kind of call together into a kind of rope-like quality of mental strength. And that continuity of mindful attention, it actually has another byproduct that there are just less moments where your mind can get caught up in what you want, what you don't want, in doubt, in dullness, in restlessness. It actually pacifies the hindrances through the power of increasing our noticings per minute. Now, you don't want to get into a whole ego game of it's good for a little tongue-in-cheek joke. You can say, okay, let me count my NPMs or something like that. We'll have a little competition. But the more important matter is that, and this is based on a teaching from the Buddha. He said, well, I'll share a few different passages. One, he said, there is nothing more conducive to misery than an uncultivated, untrained mind. And then he said, I know of no other single thing so conducive to happiness and joy than a cultivated and well-trained mind. Now, of course, training the mind is also training in loving kindness. It's training in ethics and morality and conduct. It's bringing that element of wakefulness and discernment into every element of our life. But the heart of the matter, you could say the navigator in the Noble Eightfold Path, is mindful attention, developed more continuously. So that was one passage. There's nothing more conducive to misery than an uncultivated, untrained mind. There's no more, I forgot, more single thing more conducive to happiness than a well-trained mind. In another passage, he said, whatever one frequently thinks upon and dwells upon becomes the inclination of the mind. So everything, every seed that you plant, what you do with your mind, what you do with your body, literally planting a seed that creates your future experience of yourself. But the seed of mindfulness we know is good in the beginning. It's good in the middle. It's good in the end. Because the way it goes nowhere. It roots you more. It roots you into the place where you always are anyway. It's only in your imagination that you're going somewhere else or you've been somewhere else. That's just the story that plays in your mind. The reality of what your life experiences is an unfolding now, always here. And so that continuity of mindful attention just grows that sense of being rooted in real time. I often think of, at this point, when I start talking about this rooted in real time, I think of that passage, and I think we're almost at that time to end, but I think of the teaching of an Advaita Vedanta teacher named Sri Nisargadatta, who said, when the mind is kept away from its usual preoccupations or noticing them, we could say that it's the same thing. If we're noticing, we're no longer preoccupied. So when the mind is kept away from its preoccupations, it becomes quiet. And if you don't disturb that quiet and you stay in it, you will discover that it's permeated with light and love. And you recognize it at once as your own natural state. It's your own nature. It says, once you've tasted this experience, you'll never be the same person again. It says the unruly mind will break that peace and obliterate that vision, but it's bound to return as long as the effort is sustained. And what's the effort? It's not to get somewhere. It's just to be aware. A relaxed determination to be here. Till all bonds are broken, grasping and attachment end. And grasping and attachment end in every moment of mindful attention. You cannot grasp and cling in the same moment as being aware. Grasping and attachment end, and life becomes supremely concentrated in the present. So that same energy that my grandmother has, when it is brought to, in our own version of it, when it's brought to meditation practice, it produces, as the Buddha would describe, as the sure heart's release. So what do we want in our life? Do we want the heart's release for the benefit of all beings? Or do we want, or are we focused on stuff, titles, places, things? So when you think about that, I'll just end with this. When you think about what a Buddha knows, I think I said something earlier to Linda. I said, what a Buddha knows is whatever arises passes away. That's really all they know that's different, that frees their mind from clinging. But the Buddha knew, that's kind of a composite of the Four Noble Truths. There's stress, it's caused by clinging. There's the end of it. And the end of it is realized through the cultivation of the path. But a Buddha also understands, maybe what also makes the Buddha unique, they understand, whoever it is who's a Buddha, who's awakened, they understand that the actions, moment to moment, of body, of speech, of thoughts, produce results. And whatever you frequently think about and dwell upon becomes the inclination of your mind. So may we all use our precious human birth wisely, lovingly, planting the seeds of love and attention and freedom And let the fragrance of our practice be a blessing to everyone in this world. I just wrote a new blurb for a retreat. That's another part of my motivation for going into this domain tonight. It was called Staying Awake, Kind, and Peaceful When So Many Around Us Are Not. There are many in our, I'll read you the blurb. There are many in our shared world who are not leading with kindness and caring, but you can be kind. Some lead with cruelty, but you can lead with compassion. Many lead with selfishness. You can care about others as you would yourself. Some in our life are angry and vindictive. You can lead with love. A peaceful and sane world needs peaceful and sane people. Practicing insight in a continuous way together will pacify our reactive minds and hearts and uncover the inner light and love that is our original mind. Let's make this crucial offering to our suffering world. So, thanks for listening. Let's see, hit the gong. Keith, I think I'm going to preempt your announcements tonight. I'll just thank everybody in advance for your generosity that allows us to keep cooking here on Tuesday, allows life to go on. So thank you for your dana. Also, the next announcement that I have is for any of you who are from Vancouver, I'll be there this weekend leading a retreat, more the merrier. And I think the next retreat that will be offered after that will be an online half-day retreat, online for 4 hours. And I think that's March 20th or 21st. And then the next in-person after that will be in April, on the 18th of April, I think, 18th or the 11th of April. And then at Spirit Rock on the 25th of April. So anyway.
18th of April.
Thank you, Noemi. Anyway, so happy to be with you. Please feel free to unmute and say goodnight to each other.
Thank you, Howie.
everybody.
Thank you, Howie.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Good
you,
night, Howie.
everybody.
Night,
Thank you.
Howie.
Thanks for staying with it.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
rain.
Good night.
Howie.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everybody.
Let the rain wash away your hardened hearts. Take care. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Howie. Good night.